now, let's consider a set of subgroups, interesting subgroups of SL2R. I will start with the most common examples. But first, what is a subgroup? We say a subgroup H of a group G is a subset H in G, which is itself a group for the same composition law on neutral element. That means a capital H contains E, and if H belongs to capital H, its inverse belongs also to capital H, and for any pair of elements of H, the product of those two elements belongs also to capital H. We say that capital H is abelian if all its elements commute. That means for any H1, H2 in capital H, H1, H2 is equal to H2, H1. So let's consider first the simplest subgroup of SL2R. Of course, besides the trivial SL2R itself, because SL2R is a subgroup of itself, and the identity is also a subgroup, which is a trivial subgroup. But now you have a group which is made of two elements, and we already introduced this subgroup in the introduction. It's a group made of E and minus E. That means 1, 1 and minus 1, minus 1. And this group, for the multiplication of matrices, is isomorphic to the group Z2. Now you have another group which is interesting. It's a group of all diagonal matrices. So it's a group of matrices where you put here A, 0, 0, and here you must have 1 over A, since this matrix has to have determinant equal to 1. And here I will restrict the parameter A to positive number, but strictly positive number, of course. And now you have another group which is larger than this one, but which contains this one, and I will denote it by A tilde. It's a group of diagonal matrices A, 1 over A, but where A is just different of 0. It can be negative or positive. And here you have an exercise, 1.6. Determine all functions, scalar function f of xy, defined on the plane, in such a way they don't change those functions under the action of the group A. That means fxy is equal to fx prime y prime if x prime y prime is deduced from xy under the action of this matrix, and for any A positive. Also, we note that A tilde is just the Cartesian product of D2 with A. Now, what is the definition of the Cartesian product or direct product of two commuting subgroups, H1 and H2? It is given through the following exercise. Suppose you have two subgroups which commutes. That means if you take one element of the first subgroup and one element of the second subgroup, I should not have put here MATBB here. but it should be just capital H1, capital H2. So for any element H1 and any element H2, the product H1, H2 is equal to H2, H1. Okay? And it's necessary to, in this exercise, to prove that this product made of all product of H1, H2, where H1 belongs to capital H1 and H2 belongs to capital H2, is a subgroup. So now, another important subgroup is called the maximal compact subgroup of SL2R. It is made of all proper rotations of the planes. So I will denote it by capital K. It's made of all matrices, rotation matrices, determined by some angle between 0 and 2 pi, modulo, of course, 2 pi. And it's made of matrices cosine theta on the diagonal, and minus sine theta and sine theta on the anti-diagonal. And this group also is denoted by SO2. So again, another exercise. Determine all scalar invariant f xy is equal to f of x prime y prime, where x prime y prime is deduced from xy by a rotation, by arbitrary rotations. Now you have what we call hyperbolic subgroup, which is also in physics called Lorentz subgroup, Lorentz boost. It is made of all matrices with parameter phi, real parameter phi. In physics is called the rapidity. And here you have the following symmetric matrix. Cosh phi on the diagonal, sinh phi on the anti-diagonal, where I introduce the hyperbolic functions, cosine hyperbolic and sine hyperbolic. And this group, which I called L, is also isomorphic to the group SO11. So again, determines all scalar invariant for the action of this hyperbolic subgroup. Okay. So now I go to the notion of nilpotent subgroups of SL2R. For two subgroups H1 and H2 of G, we define what we call the commutator of the two subgroups, denoted by this bracket, H1, H2, denote the subgroup generated by all commutators which are elements of the following form. You consider the inverse of H1 belonging to capital H1, the inverse of H2 belonging to capital H2, and now you consider the product of that with the product of H1, H2. And this expression is also denoted by a bracket H1, H2. And of course, the two subgroups commute if all commutators here are equal to 1. Actually, I should put E here. a subgroup capital H is said nilpotent if there exists integer n such that this expression Cn of capital H is reduced to the identity subgroup. What is this expression? The expression stands for the sequence of subgroups defined in a recurrent way as C1 of H is precisely H, and Cm plus 1H is precisely the commutator of H with Cm of H. And the smallest n, such that Cn of H is reduced to the identity subgroup, is called the nilpotence class of H. So here you have what I call the abelian nilpotent subgroup of SL2R. The following one is n plus. It is made of all matrices with one on the diagonal and with upper element B belonging to R and 0 for the lower element. N minus, on the contrary, is made of element where you have 0 for the upper element on the anti-diagonal and C belonging to R on the lower part of the anti-diagonal. Now you have also another nilpotent subgroup. It is made of all matrices where you have a parameter T belonging to R, which is made of matrices which have the form 1 plus T, 1 minus T on the diagonal, and the T minus T on the anti-diagonal here. So prove that in the exercise 1.10, prove that n plus n minus and n are nilpotent abelian. And what is the nilpotence class? And again, determine all scalar or vector invariants f of xy such as f of xy is equal to f xy y prime when x prime y prime are deduced from xy through the action of those matrices. So you have to determine first for this group capital N plus, for this one afterwards for this one capital N minus, and eventually for this group N. Now let's consider a subgroup which is also very important in modular theory. It is a subgroup of SL2R where all entries A, B, C, D are integers. Okay? And it is more common also to consider the coset, actually the projective coset, PSL2Z, when you don't care about the global sign plus or minus you can put in front of any matrix. So exercise 1.12, find explicit element of SL2Z by taking two coprime integers A and B, putting them into the matrix A, X, B, Y, and solving the determinant equation A, Y plus minus BX is equal to 1. So here I remind the Bézout identity. Okay. And this identity is famous in any elementary introduction to arithmetics, which tells you that if you consider A and B integers with greatest common divisor D, then there exist integers x and y such that ax plus by is equal to D. More generally, the integers of the form ax plus by are exactly the multiples of D. Next exercise, study the transformation of the square lattice Z2 in the plane under action of SL2Z. Invariant subgroups of SL2R. But we have already introduced the notion of nilpotence. Now we are going to introduce the notion of invariant or normal or self-conjugate subgroup. What it is, we say that a subgroup A, capital H of the group G is invariant if it is invariant under conjugation by all elements of G. That means G, capital H, G minus 1 is always a subset of H, capital H, for any G in the group. And the notation is capital H is invariant of G which gives the meanings of this symbol. So exercise, determine all invariant subgroups of SL2R. Now I'm going to give just a first application in physics, well known in optics, when we consider the transformation of a beam of rays, light rays, due to succession of optics devices, like lenses, like mirrors, and so on. So in optics, people are used to the notation capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D matrix, instead of small a, small b, small c, small d. You know, every field in physics has its own notations. And so we have to be used to go from one notation to another one. So what is an ABCD matrix or ray transfer matrix? It is a 2x2 matrix associated with an optical element which can be used for describing the effect of the element on a laser beam, for instance. It can be used both in ray optics, where geometric rays are propagated, and for propagating Gaussian beams. I will not explain what is a Gaussian beams. I will try to do that maybe later in lesson 2 or 3. So the concept was developed in geometrical optics. So you can, for instance, read this reference here in footnote. For calculating the propagation of light rays with some transverse offset r and offset angle theta from a referent axis. So what is r, what is theta? It is shown on the figure. You have the optical system, you have your incoming light ray, and you have the outleaving light ray here. So the incoming light ray make an angle theta with respect to the system axis, and the penetration in the optical systems holds at a distance, vertical distance r from the system axis. So before you have r theta, afterwards you have r prime theta prime. You have a transformation of the light ray. And this transformation is linear if we made the approximation which is called the paraxial approximation. That means theta is not very large, and theta is not very large too. So these parameters are modified by an optical element through SL2R actions. Here, again, we explain the notation ABCD matrix. And the matrix elements are characteristic of each optical element. For instance, for a thin lens with focal length f, the offset r remains unchanged, whereas the offset angle theta prime experiences a change in proportion to r. And so what we have the following ABCD matrix, which implies that r prime is equal to r and theta prime is equal to theta minus r over the focal length. Now the propagation through free space over a distance d is associated with the matrix 1D01, something we know like this one. If you remember, this one belongs to n minus, this one belongs to n plus. They are nilpotent subgroups of SL2R. And for this matrix, the angle remains unchanged, whereas the beam offset is increasing or decreasing according to the angle. For situations where beams propagate through dielectric media, it is convenient to use the modified kind of beams vectors, where the lower component, the angle, is multiplied by the refracting index n. So you have this transformation. For instance, you have what is called the stable quadratic Gaussian duct of length z, which is described by this ABCD matrix, where n of r is n0 minus 1/2 n squared, n2, I'm sorry, r squared, and gamma 2 is n2 divided by n0. So I see I didn't explain everything here. I will correct the slide here. For unstable quadratic Gaussian duct, we have instead this kind of hyperbolic matrix. Okay? So now, if you combine multiple optical elements, you get a general SL2R matrix. If a beam propagates through several optical elements, including any airspaces and in between, this means that the r theta vector is subsequently multiplied by various matrices. Instead, thanks to the group law, a single matrix may be used. This is a fundamental use of the multiplication property of matrices. For instance, if you combine a free space propagation length with distance d, followed by a length with focal length f, compared with inverted order, okay, you will get on one order you will get this matrix, and with the other order we will get this matrix, and of course the two matrices are not the same because SL2R is non-commutative. If you calculate the commutator of the two matrices here, you will get this specific matrix which is not in SL2R multiplied by this factor d over f. So now I go to another very important action of SL2R. It is the action on the real line R under the form of what we call the Möbius transformation. So you take an element of the line and you transform it into this element by using this matrix And this new element is a ratio of ax plus b divided by cx plus d. And that gives you a new element of the line. But of course, this element can be the infinite element. Why? Because this expression can be zero, depending on the matrix you use, and depending, of course, on the point from which you start. But actually, since plus or minus g acting on x give also gx, I'm sorry, so I should put g here. I have to correct again this slide. Okay, it is a projective PSL 2 of R which acts here effectively. And now a specific action of SL2R is the following one. If you consider this specific matrix, which is of course in SL2R because the determinant is equal to 1, so it will give you what we call the inverse minus the inverse of x. That explains that you go from 0 to the infinity here. It's a conformal action. Now if you extend the action 1.26 to SL plus or minus 2R, which is a not connected group of real 2 by 2 matrix with determinant plus or minus 1, in order to include the Simmel inversion, you will get this, the real inversion from x to 1 over x. But of course, this matrix is not in SL2R, it is in SL plus or minus 2R. This is an exercise which can be very interesting. And I will end with this first lesson, not the first section, but this first lesson with those two exercises. Exercise 1.15. Suppose you have a subset of SL plus or minus 2R, which is made of element H obeying the two constraints. They are nilpotent. That means H2 is equal to 1, is equal to the identity. And they leave x is equal to 1 invariant under Möbius transformation. Then prove that this subset is made of the identity E up to a sign and the following one parameter family of 2 by 2 real matrices which do not form a group, a subgroup. Now prove that the subset where you multiply this subset by the inversion in the line is an abelian subgroup isomorphic to R. And this is an interesting exercise. So I will stop here.